Okay, can you see the clapboard?
Dark.
You got it?
Got it.
I'm going to double clap it. Well, there, that'll work.
You're the first one today, so we're just getting organized.
Okay.
Mary, I know you're a new Rotarian, and I know that you have just joined the club, but that's fine, because that's not what I'm really digging for with you. I'm looking, number one, for a woman's perspective on Rotary, and I'm looking for the new Rotarian's perspective on Rotary, and why a person with contacts all over like you do, the experience that you have, why this was the time and the place where you felt that you could answer the call of being a Rotarian. So we'll start with that. Can you, when you answer a question, you're a pro at this, I know, refer to the question, because my questions will not be in the video.
Okay.
So you need to at least preface it in some way so the audience knows what the question was. So Mary, tell me what Rotary Club you are in, when you joined, and so how many months you've been with us.
Well, let's see. I am a new Rotarian. I consider myself that. A little over a year as we sit here in 2024. So April of last year was when I joined, and I'm at the Moorhead Noon Rotary in sweet little Moorhead City. So that's where I'm located.
Excellent. And I forgot to say, but don't refer to me in any way. Don't say Barbara or don't say your club or anything like that. Referring to me. Mary, you're a talented person. You've worked in many arenas. You're now internationally networking with people. How is Rotary serving you, and why did you join it? Why did you see this as a great addition to your busy life?
Well, the answer to maybe why I joined Rotary is really interesting, because it's a little complex in the sense, if you believe in the spiritual world, is that the stars aligned. Okay, let's put it that way. I do a lot of interviewing for a podcast that I have for my business, and I had interviewed, I'd say, 3 people in a row, literally in a row, who had mentioned that they were Rotary Club members, and 2 of them were from Texas, by the way. So I thought that was really interesting, and both of them were high up in the Rotary leadership, let's put it that way. The third one, there was a third one, and it was a business partner of mine who had, I think, been a district governor. All 3 of them inside of a month had mentioned that they were involved in Rotary Club, and one of them had mentioned something about funding processes. That's the only reason I think I would have known anything about how Rotary funds outside of their community. And an opportunity came up via somebody else I had interviewed in Africa, as a matter of fact, in Malawi. And they were looking for funds for a motorboat to be able to save some women's lives who could not get to the mainland to a C-section to give birth in time. So the women were dying, the babies were dying. And so I just felt like there had to be something to be done, because they said it only cost $2,500 to get one of these boats. So immediately, and I don't know why, my mind thought Rotary, a global grant or international grant of some kind should be available. And I called my business partner that I knew had been high up in Rotary Club. He said, I know how this works. And immediately we got to work. And within about 6 months, they had their boat, their motorboat. And all thanks to not only that Rotary Club, but as we know now, it involved several other Rotary clubs. And in his particular case, he went around to 4 Rotary clubs in his area. The Rotary Club, and I didn't know this too, there's different generations of Rotary clubs. There's a Rotaract and an Interact, and so he went to all of those. They all contributed. And then there was, I think, a Rotaract club in Malawi that we didn't know about that served as our sort of host there. We got it done. And now we're on to a farming project in that same area. So that was the precursor to me being asked to join Rotary right after that. And I had this wonderful foundation for it. And I certainly said yes,
Excellent. excellent. That, see, you said you had nothing to contribute because you were so new, but absolutely you do. And that
It's a weird
is-
string, isn't it, of events that happened that pulled me there.
There are.
Yeah.
Locally, and within your own club, what's the tie there? What about the Noon Club has attracted you?
When I think about the Noon Rotary Club, it's interesting because I have been around to other clubs. I have seen some other clubs, spoken to some other clubs in the years past in the different capacities, hats that I've worn over the years. But Noon Rotary happened to me, not so much me happening to it. It was a fit, but the genesis of that came out of my church. It was a member of my church that was active and involved, and he's the one that invited me to a meet and greet. And I went, invited the pastor of the church as well, and a couple of other members. And when I got into the room, it's one of those feelings that you have when you feel like there's a fit with the people that you recognize, some of them that you know, and others maybe you don't know. But there's this feeling of welcoming, and I think that's probably everywhere you go with Rotary. But it seemed to fit, and so the timing of when they meet also fit very well with my schedule. So that was just sort of the beginning of it, really.
That sounds wonderful. If you were going to share something with a broad audience, what is the takeaway that you would like people to get, to hear from you about Rotary? If we're looking in terms of these 100 years of Rotary that we're going to be celebrating here in Carter County and looking to the next 100 years, what takeaway would you have for our audience?
When I think about the longevity of Rotary and some of the things that they've done, not just locally but across the world, because I get to hear about it. I think I've mentioned to someone recently that I put on my LinkedIn profile that I was a Rotary Club member, and within minutes I had people showing up to tell me that they were involved in Rotary clubs, all over the place. I'm still communicating with one gal in Africa that is a dentist there that's putting dentist clinics all over the place, and she's a Rotary Club member. It excites me to see people like that all over the world and locally doing things like that. Moorhead Noon Rotary, I watch the people there and how they interact with each other. Many of them I've known their kids over the years because they've been involved in a youth program that I've been involved in, so it's really good. But funny thing is, I hear them talking about their illustrious careers in Rotary, where they've come from. A lot of them are not local, and they've maybe come from other states, other cities, that sort of thing, and they brought Rotary with them. They've been a governor somewhere else, or they've been a president of a club somewhere else, or just been active for 18 or 20 years. And I think, well, that's why Rotary is 100 years old. They stay in it. And we had an exercise yesterday in Rotary Club where people were asked, why did you come into Rotary and then why did you stay? And there was somebody sitting next to me who said there are two different reasons. What you come into Rotary sometimes isn't the same reason that you stay. And that is true. That's true in my case. What brought me into Rotary is not necessarily the same reason that I'm still there a year and a few months later. So what's good for me is being able to get in the dirt and and plant flowers at a hospice house with somebody I didn't know that I should, that's a local person that now I'm getting to know very well, and selling tickets for a fundraiser at the Beaufort Waterfront, to be able to raise money for yet another nonprofit that will benefit from that locally. So it gives me an opportunity to do things locally, hands-on, that while I might make connections on a global basis, I'm not actually able to be right there to do anything, hands-on. But I can do that locally, and it feels really good, and it, warms my heart just to be, in my back door doing good stuff,
Excellent. And the final thing would be, this year finishes up the 100 years, and starting July 1st next year, we have the opportunity to build the next 100 years of Rotary here. How do you envision yourself being part of building the next 100 years?
Well, as we look at building the next 100 years, I think probably another reason why I'm involved in maybe this Rotary Club that I am involved in is the fact that I do bring that global piece to it. And I think probably I might be a little bit of a rarity around here anyway. And I can bring in maybe some different ideas and some thoughts and maybe some skill sets that might enhance what we're already doing, because we're working on a global grant with Mexico right now, this particular club that I'm involved in. I see more of that type of thing. There's also sort of I don't want to say an exchange program, but there's a visitation program that's sort of out there and being talked about that I have seen, and the incoming president of our group has mentioned, is this something do you think that we can do anything with? I said, well, sure, because it gels up really well with something I used to do when I used to work in the Raleigh-Durham area, programming different, visitations for, people who are, visiting your area. And this would just be the Rotary Club would be the host of it. So being able to kind of extend that outreach, if you want to call it that, I think that's going to be really important as we grow, just to be more of the same of what we are, which is welcoming and bringing people in, and maybe hitting that diversity button maybe a little harder, and making sure that we're bringing in all different sorts, more women, more people of color, maybe people who maybe don't speak as the first language English always. So I kind of like to see more of that.
Excellent. I think I've hit everything with you. You are a powerhouse. There's no question.
I hope that helps.
There is absolutely no question.
1
that
second,
you
don't
did
move yet.